It started with music. Not the gentle summer kind that drifts over the lake like mist. No. This was bass-thumping, microphone-squealing chaos. I stepped out onto my porch, coffee in hand, and froze. Across the shimmering water, where my dock stretched out in perfect symmetry, stood something new. A stage. With spotlights, a banner, and a swarm of people hammering, drilling, and shouting orders like it was Coachella. And right in the center, wearing her wide-brimmed hat and brandishing her clipboard, stood Karen, the HOA president, the woman who had once filed a noise complaint against my rooster, now apparently hosting a concert on my dock. I climbed into my ATV and rolled down the dirt path toward the water. As I got closer, I saw extension cords snaking everywhere, folding chairs, and some guy testing a microphone. Check, check, 1, 2, welcome to the HOA's first annual summer showcase. Karen saw me approaching and smiled the kind of smile that makes you want to check your blood pressure. Oh, good morning. Isn't it exciting? We decided to hold our community talent show on your dock. It's the perfect venue. I blinked. My dock, as in my property, as in you're trespassing. She waved her clipboard. Not exactly. We're using the lake's shared access zone. The board voted that since the water's public, the dock must be 2. Except the dock is on my land, Karen. I built it, paid for it, maintained it. She smiled tightly. Don't be difficult. You can even watch the show for free. Consider it a community partnership. I leaned on the railing. Karen, do you remember when you called code enforcement because my grass was too green? Her eyes narrowed. This isn't about your grass. No, I said, but it's about respect, something you're about to lose a lot of. She rolled her eyes and turned away. Enjoy the show. Now here's the thing. When I built that dock 3 years ago, I added something special, a hydraulic platform system under the main section. It was meant for lowering boats into the water safely, but I also installed a manual control box on the shore. With one switch, the entire dock surface could tilt about 10 degrees and sink slowly back into the lake. I used it maybe twice, but as I watched Karen hang fairy lights and line up folding chairs, a little light bulb went off. I went back up to the house, grabbed a sandwich and waited. By sunset, the crowd had gathered. Music started blaring across the lake. Kids danced, people clapped, and Karen strutted on stage holding a microphone like she was hosting the Grammys. Welcome to the first ever HOA Lake Gala, she shouted. Thanks to our generous community member for providing the venue. She didn't mention my name. I stood behind the bushes near the control box, watching as she waved her arms and gestured dramatically. The wooden planks creaked under the weight of 50 people. I sighed. Well, here's to community spirit, and flipped the switch. At first, it was subtle. The dock tilted just a few degrees. People thought it was the waves. Karen wobbled slightly and laughed nervously. Then the rear of the platform sank another foot. Drinks slid off tables. Someone shouted, "Hey, the floor's moving." Karen froze, microphone squealing. What's happening? Who did this? Water started lapping over the back edge. The band's drum kit rolled into the lake with a splash that echoed across the shore. The crowd screamed. People scrambled. Chairs flew. One guy dove headfirst into the water to save his cooler. Karen stood there, clutching her clipboard, yelling, "Stay calm. It's just settling." The front half of the dock dipped again. Splash! And her sandals went under. She shrieked, dropped the mic, and tried to run. But by then the whole stage was half submerged. I walked down from the hill, keeping my expression perfectly neutral. You okay there, Karen? She spun around, soaked to the knees. You sabotaged the event. Sabotaged? Nah, just routine maintenance. Safety check. These old docks can collapse if people overload them. Her jaw dropped. You'll pay for this. I already did, I said. Every inch of that dock. And now it's off limits to HOA activities permanently. The sheriff arrived 20 minutes later, lights flashing. He took one look at the soaked crowd and sighed. Karen, you told me you had permission for this. I did. It's shared property, she snapped. He turned to me. You got the deed handy? I handed it over. He nodded slowly. Yep, 100% private. You're trespassing, ma'am. Karen's shoulders slumped as he wrote the citation. Someone from the crowd shouted, You said he approved it. Couldn't help but chuckle. Guess she forgot to mention the fine print. The next week, I added a steel gate to the dock entrance with a sign that read, Authorized access only, stage use strictly prohibited. And just for fun, I replaced the stage banner she left floating in the water with my own. Now featuring Karen and the sinking stage. The story made local news. Even the sheriff couldn't stop laughing when he saw the footage from my security camera. Karen never set foot near the lake again. And me? Well, every time I see the reflection of that dock in the water, I remember the night the HOA tried to take my piece and got an unexpected encore performance. Sometimes karma doesn't knock. Collapses. Microphone sweat droplets.